Welcome back to another installment in our interview series. I'm your host, Dana Campbell, and today we'll be joined by Marc Johnson live from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Hello, Dave.
Hi. How are you doing?
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you all right.
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well this morning. So I'm gonna start
Excellent.
off by reading your bio, and then we'll get into your interview. Okay?
Sure. Thank you.
No problem. So, okay, so Marc is at the heart inspired by possibility. He has an MBA from the University of Cape Town and over 30 years experience in a wide range of environments: corporate, small business, NGO, and government. He spent the first 10 years of his career in the corporate world, mostly in the financial services sector. After completing his MBA in 1997, Marc's social orientation began to shape the environments within which he worked, which led to a move to the affordable housing sector. From 2010, Marc's emphasis shifted to entrepreneurial mentoring, lecturing, and facilitating. From 2012 to 2021, he was licensed to facilitate the International Color Accounting and Literacy Workshop. Marc has personally run over 150 color accounting workshops in South Africa, Ghana, South Sudan, and India. He has facilitated an additional 650 verified financial literacy sessions for small businesses. Marc sees himself as a citizen of Africa building an African business. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you very much, Dave. Lovely to join you.
We're so excited to talk to you. I was very, very interested when I came across your profile on Afrinection just about this business model. I've never seen a business that provides such a service, but I do believe it is very much so needed, especially when we're talking about rebuilding Africa's economic infrastructure. So can you start by telling us a little bit about how It's a Breeze got started?
Sure. So I started doing financial literacy training taught it 2012. So it's been 10 years of doing the actual training. Although the actual entity, It's a Breeze, I only registered as a separate entity in 2017. So formally 2017 is when It's a Breeze started. But I've been doing the work of financial literacy, for quite a bit longer than that. If that's a good answer for your question.
Yeah, that is a good answer. Had you seen any other businesses offering something similar when you had started It's a Breeze?
No, actually, it was one of those fortuitous network connections. So I knew an entrepreneur lady in my network that I'd done some work with, done some projects for her. And at that stage, Color Accounting and I, in a friendly way, parted ways at the end of last year. But she became aware of Color Accounting. Some people had approached her because they thought her training organization might enjoy training it. And she wasn't, but she said, hang on, but I know someone that I think would really love to do this. So she brokered the connection, and the rest is history. So I think it's depending on the people that talk about entrepreneurship. I don't know if it's Cuban or Mark Randolph, one of the guys. They say don't underestimate luck.
Mm-hmm.
You can work hard and you can do your research and you can do all sorts of stuff, but you don't know what's going to come out of the left field. You don't know. And for me, the start in this space, which is something I absolutely love doing. It was a gift from God, really, is the way it just landed, and it ended up being something I love doing, I can do, so So it was just a chance interaction 10 years ago that set me on the path, eh?
Great. A bit of a personal question, but growing up, was financial literacy something that your family talked a lot to you about?
Something that I grew up with, you say?
Yes.
The connection is a little bit slow. So not at all. In fact, I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial household. Was one of the other factors. I think that's if you're going to be an entrepreneur, often when you grow up with mom or dad or an uncle or someone, getting that spark lit. I think I've always had a bit of a bent for it, but I never grew up with entrepreneurialism really in the family or close to me, affecting me. And certainly not financial literacy. It wasn't it wasn't part of my kind of background at all. As much as I've done some studies in it, I'd never come across a way of explaining it in a really simple way. And we know a lot of people are on the back foot when it comes to financial literacy. People just, the shutters come down, they want to run away, they rather do anything else than talk about finance and accounting. That's what I've learned to do. I've learned to over the years present accounting and finance, hopefully in an empowering and inspiring way.
Amazing. Can you please tell us about a challenge that you faced over the past 10 years?
Can you repeat that again? I'm afraid my Wi-Fi or the connection I've got doesn't seem to be that great. Just repeat that, please.
Oh, no problem. We might have a slight delay, but the question was, can you please tell us about a challenge that you in your business over the past 10 years?
I think, with any entrepreneurial venture that you start, so to start with, I guess I had the product, that part was kind of worked out for me. It was up to me to go and find customers, get that part going. So I think I like to talk about the no man's land in entrepreneurship or starting a small business. There's a time from when you start until you have predictable revenue. The space from when you start until when you have predictable revenue is a bit of a no man's land. You can be successful, you might be successful, sales are erratic, up and down, but I think one of the early milestones to try and get to as an entrepreneur is predictable revenue. And that doesn't come easy. You might have a luck and you get there quite quickly. But getting to a place of predictable revenue is, I say that's probably one of the early challenges, the first difficult things to do. I think I'm not necessarily sure it was a challenge, but conceptualizing what my business was about. So I'm fairly innovative, and as soon as I'm onto something, so I started with financial literacy. 2012, but certainly by 2014, I was saying, well, what is it really that I do? Is it just financial literacy? Am I just like a product in, product out? I've got the license to run this stuff. Do I just run color accounting workshops? Or what actually is my core skill? So I think getting to a place of understanding that, hang on, I'm a financial literacy educator. Yes, I've got this great IP that I use from the color accounting guys. But actually, the core thing that I do is financial literacy. I'm an educator. And then it's like I suppose the analogy is you breathe in. You keep breathing in until you say, okay, I've now breathed in to the right level in my business. I understand what my business is about. It's like maybe a concertina that you stretch out and you see like, where's my center of gravity? So certainly what I do now is financial literacy training. I mean, that's the core of my business. But the vision of what I want to do, you might say is, well, and maybe if you look at the business name, it's a breeze. Now, for God's sake, what's that got to do with financial literacy? It's like, well, it doesn't make any sense. But it's the breeze is about making something easy.
Yes.
That's what I said. That's what I think I do well. So I make something easy. And my passion segment is entrepreneurs. Those are the people that I love working with. So I'm allowing myself room to say, well, what else do entrepreneurs find difficult? Maybe it's technology, maybe it's all sorts of things. Because as an entrepreneur, you're on your own. There's no safety net, there's no support. You've got to be everything. So you've got to know enough about a lot of stuff to get to that point that I was mentioning earlier of predictable income, because once you've got predictable income, you can start hiring people, whether it's part-time, full-time, half-time. You can start outsourcing, you can start buying the skill in. But until you've got predictable income, you can't, you can't start getting other people in. So you said challenges. So I said one is predictable income. Two, I think, is knowing what you're about. And I'm saying for me, it was a bit lucky because that comes naturally in the way I think about my business. What I really want to achieve with this entity. So I think getting clarity of your vision is quite important. So being able to think, down the road, what is it that I want to achieve with this business? So I suppose as a marker for me, that was 2018. I realized I wanted Africa. Before that, I'd been really servicing the South African market. Yes, I had a gig or two over in India in 2014, 2015, 16. But primarily, I was still focused on the South African market. Come 2018, I had a bit of an epiphany, and I said, well, hang on. The breathing in analogy, I started breathing in. I said, no, Africa is my market. That's the place that I want to serve. So, realizing Africa was the market was another sense of that breathing in thing. And then, of course, COVID, without saying the challenges that hit us, my business was a small business, not a corporate. I had just been in the stage probably 6 months prior to when COVID hit us in March 2020. I was starting to try and put resources into building the business. So I had a part-time team that I was starting to draw on to say, right, let's do this thing properly now. Got a marketing agency involved. And then in March 2020, of course, COVID hit. And up till that stage, my business had been entirely contact-based group workshops. So I'd go to a client in a classroom and teach. Of course, that disappeared. That just pop, overnight that was gone. So suddenly, from acceptable revenue, running the business, things are going to zero revenue, kind of overnight. And like many businesses, I'm certainly not alone. I said, well, okay, well now what? Now what? So the challenge of COVID for me actually. So if I can say this sort of as a separate point, I think as an entrepreneur, resilience when you're facing difficulties is probably one of the key things. We always hear the stories of the entrepreneurs that have made it and made it big. They get bigger news, bigger airtime. We don't hear the stories of entrepreneurs that are running a really good, small local business, a local hardware shop, a local family shop somewhere in Middle America or Middle Africa. Those are the backbone, the outliers of those people that suddenly become, the big names. The resilience under pressure or under hardship, I think, is a really important quality. And of course, there's nothing wrong for every N successful entrepreneurs. There's another 90% probably that couldn't make it. They tried something in their garage. They really put savings into it. They borrowed money from friends and family. They were passionate about what they wanted to do. And it didn't work, and, you've got family, you've got commitments. Suddenly you say, look, you know what? I've got to go and get a job. And they go back into corporate and get a job. So look, we mustn't forget those people that have tried and through no fault of their own kind of didn't make it. But COVID for me actually was an accelerant, actually. So prior to COVID, we already realized we needed to get online. I needed to be able to run my sessions online. I needed on-demand delivery mechanisms. We kind of knew that. But COVID gave us a big kick up the bum and said, listen, you've got to go online now. You know, there's no waiting and thinking. This is it. Interestingly, I think if prior to COVID, if I'd gone to a client and said, I've got this great new delivery mechanism using Zoom, and we can get everyone on a call and do it online, I doubt whether I'd have had one taker, because the market wasn't there. The market wasn't, let's go and do stuff online. You know, so actually prior to COVID, yes, the market was now ready. In the beginning, I thought, oh my God, will we be able to run 2 hours online without everyone going crazy? You know, next thing you're running 4 hours and
Wow.
no one even blinks, you know? Yeah, well, no one blinks because people are used to it. So the challenge of COVID was, firstly, get online now. And the second thing, I'm not sure if you saw in my profile, but I'm going to, well, go back to 2018 when I said Africa's my market. Quite soon after realizing that, I realized I probably want to relocate actually to further north, to be in the middle of my markets. I didn't want to be based in South Africa anymore. I wanted to move north, and you know, the default place was Rwanda, but it doesn't, I mean, somewhere. I wanted to be in the middle of my markets and feel, you know, that entrepreneurialism that's building across the continent. And that was the second thing that COVID did, because I ran out of money. I had to leave my apartment. I said, oh my God. By July 2020, it was game over. I said, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do now? And all I said is, well, I can't live in my apartment. I'm going to have to pay rent. But now that I'm online with my business, I said, well, I can run my business from anywhere. So let me go and be anywhere. So it accelerated that. The upside of it was it accelerated my thinking around heading out for my trip. So that was 18 months ago. So I decided actually 18 months ago, right, I'm going to go on my trip. And I'm not sure if I can call myself a biker, but the only way I can imagine myself doing it is on a motorbike. So for the last 18 months, really, I've been, you know, getting that ready. So, and I think we still, again, the frame was challenges.
Yeah.
You know, we're still in the aftermath of that. You know, I through the grace of God, the beginning of last year, I had some legacy clients coming back to me, and I had quite a nice first 6 months of last year. The second half dipped off a little bit. This year, I'm waiting to see where's it going. You know, where are those clients? What's going to happen? So, getting back to a regular rhythm is still a challenge for me in the business. Yeah, that's about it, I'd say, for you asking challenges.
Thank you. Great answer. You ended up answering a lot of the questions that I had, as well as a few that were already asked. You have a few more. Someone has asked, what type of financial literacy do you teach specifically? Do you cover stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cryptocurrency, real estate?
Good. Great question. Thanks for that. It is. So it's, well, so the short answer is no, it's not that stuff. The longer answer is usually in the world of financial literacy, it breaks into two broad categories. The one is sort of personal financial literacy. Sometimes people will talk about personal financial wellness, and that really often refers to salaried employees that have got a budget and you know, have a savings account and look after their retirement maybe, and stuff like that. And that's not what I do, although I could, but that's not my focus. The focus is the business-oriented financial literacy. So it's teaching the basics of accounting and finance to non-financial people. My delicious segment, if I can call it, is entrepreneurs. I mean, I just love working with entrepreneurs. Maybe in some ways because they've got it the hardest, you know. There's no help, you know. They can't afford an accountant. They can't, you know, you can afford nothing when you're a starting entrepreneur. so I love the entrepreneur space, of course, also in corporates. So in South Africa, there's a program was often called Finance for Non-Financial Managers. So anyone in a corporate space, a manager trying to grow their career, but they don't have a strong financial background, not sure what happens in the States, but they'll get sent on Finance for Non-Financial Managers. So, you know, so that would be the kind of segment, but it's teaching finance and accounting at a layperson level. You know, it's just like, what is the point of this stuff, you know, and how do you have better financial conversations? So short answer, so it's not the stocks and the bonds and personal and financial investing and stuff. It's not the personal orientation. It's really focused on how do entrepreneurs understand their finances as their business better, and importantly, have better conversations. I mean, it's not just teaching an entrepreneur to be an accountant or a bookkeeper. That's not the point. The point is when you have a robust understanding of the framework of finance and accounting, you think much more richly about your business, because everything touches finance. At some point, everything's going to touch the books and touch the numbers. And when you can think about your business from a financial perspective, at the very least sufficiently so that you can have a good conversation with your accountant or with a financial person, or you can ask the right. Entrepreneurs are question askers. That's what they're good at. They know how to think and how to ask good questions. And if you don't have a solid enough base, you don't even know what questions to ask. You know, it can be really difficult to formulate the question. So I think, yeah, that was the answer. So that's the focus of the financial literacy that I do. If I can mention, sorry, so other segments that I can offer the product to certainly are students. You know, typically you're going into university level, and maybe you haven't done bookkeeping or accounting at school, and you know you've got to start doing accounting. And accounting can be a lot more demanding at university level than at tertiary. So it's the same. The accounting you do at university is business-oriented accounting. They're teaching you about business, really. There we are. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Someone has asked about your trip. Can you tell us a bit more about your trip?
Mm.
I'm curious.
Wow. So, well, as I said, the background was 2018. My market's Africa. I'm going to relocate at some point. Then COVID hit, and I said, well, why not now? So the reason to relocate, if I can say, is a business reason, but my own personal orientation said, well, I'm going to do that on a motorbike, you know. And I've spent the last 18 months trimming my life. I'm living in a commune in Johannesburg. I rent a room. You know, there's nothing left. I've sold my furniture. I've got rid of everything. As I say, I'm living in a shared house. I'm going to have 6 boxes that my life will be in, that will carry on my motorbike. I can't really show you, but
wow.
I can send you a picture sometime. The motorbike's just outside, so it's getting that ready. So the sort of personal side of the thing is, well, I want to, you know, have a personal experience. Initially, I thought I was just going to go from South Africa and sort of snake my way a little bit up the eastern side and end up in Rwanda. But a month or two ago, I said, you know what, why not just do all the countries? So I said, okay, well, why not? So that's the latest plan. It might take me 5 years, I'm not sure, but I've got a route. I won't go through all 54 now, but a route basically sort of up east, Malawi, Burundi, across to West Angola, and then all of the sort of Western countries, nipping in a little bit. So it's Chad, Central African Republic, then going west and then taking in all the Western countries, swinging around to the top, so North Africa, across Egypt, and then down the eastern side. Of course, not forgetting the islands. So when I'm in Gabon, it's Sao Tome and Principe. When I'm in Senegal, it's a hop across to Cape Verde. And then when I come down the eastern side, my idea will be staying in Kenya. I'm not sure that getting the bike across by boat, you know, because there's 4 islands on the east: Seychelles, Comores, Mauritius, and Madagascar. So I want to try and get those 4 in as well, and then Kenya, and then basically finishing off with South Sudan, Uganda, and Rwanda, and that'll be the 54 countries. But then, so it's a working trip. When I tell people, I say it's a working and learning trip. So yes, I want to offer financial literacy as I'm going, maybe free sessions when I'm in a country or in a town or in a place. Say, look, I'm here. Let me just run sessions. We're the local entrepreneurs, blah, blah, blah. But it's also another important aspect is going to be learning about the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So when I'm there, I've been connecting with people across the continent now since 2018, ever since I realized I was going to move. So I've got, quite a range of contacts across the continent. But when I go into Zambia or wherever, it's going to be, well, kind of what gives? How does it work? Well, who's doing what? What's the entrepreneurial energy here? But just to learn, just to understand, make connections. Another aspect for me is going to be the whole free trade area. You might well know that the African Continental Free Trade Area is a 1 year old already. 1st of January 2021, it became official. It's a flagship project of the African Union, realizing that we have to start integrating our economies. I suppose very much like the model of the European Union, but the potential for economic growth just on intra-African trade is enormous, absolutely enormous. So the estimates are currently that maybe 16 or 17% of African trade is within African countries. And if you compare that to Europe, it sits at like 70%. So there is a huge gap that we have to fill to start saying, how do we trade with each other? So the AFTA Secretariat have been, working very hard to try and get countries to say, look, you've got to start trading with each other. And there's a lot of rules of origin and tariffs and all sorts of stuff that's got to get fixed. And of course, our infrastructure. Under colonialism, Africa was built as an export. So there was a railway from the mine to the coast. There was nothing internal. So another massive project of the African Union is the highways. There's a chap I follow on LinkedIn, and every now and again there's a new bridge being built. There's a new there's about 9 different mega transport corridor projects that are on the go to start connecting Africa with Africa. Anyway, so the question, what's the trip about? Well, it's an adventure. It's about learning, and it's going to be. I'm going to see what happens. There's no time frame. I want to see when I get to a country. What's happening. I'm approaching it as a business trip. Yes, I'm going on a bike, so there's going to be fun. But it's a business trip. I'm going to be when I want to go. Well, firstly, why the hell? As a business person, do I need to apply for a business visa? It's a big problem. Why? Why can politicians and bureaucrats swan around the continent,
Right.
talk, chat, good, fine. But who are the people that are going to implement? Who are the people that are going to make it happen on the ground? It's us. It's the entrepreneurs. So why are you making it hard for me as a business person to get around the continent? Sure, I can in SADC, the southern part, I can travel easily. But can I go anywhere? No. I've got to get a business visa, and then there'll be this, will I be able to open a business when I'm in DRC? As a non-resident, I'm an African, but as a non-resident, will I be able to open a business as a 100% owner and sole director anywhere? Or will I need a local person? Oh, you're putting more sand in the gears. So the vision's there. African Union, the free trade area, the vision's strong, but it's like, okay, so part of the trip is going to be some of that stuff as well. Like, okay, how easy is it for me as an African non-resident to this country? How easy is it for me to do some business here? Can I? Can't I?
Yeah.
Discover. I hope that's a sufficient. I'm not sure you asked the question. I didn't see it flying across the screen, but hopefully that does it. Thanks, Day.
No, you did good. That was very good. That was very informative. That brought up a lot of things that we've been talking about over the past few interviews, like with various different people. In your
Mhm.
opinion, Mark, what is the key missing element from your perspective in Africa's sustainable growth from the economic point of view?
Well, I suppose I mentioned it already. It's like, why is it so hard for me to travel? You know, we
Traveling.
should be welcoming business travelers. Please come. You've got a, 3 year, no questions asked, 3 year multiple entry business visa. Come and do business. If you're going to close off your borders to business travelers, well, you know, you're making it hard. So I think so. So that's, I think, so one part of it. Um, I think an enthusiasm on the ground for AFTA. You know, so many people, yes, we love Africa and we're African and what, but it's maybe at some top level, but on the ground, okay, South Africa is maybe a bit of an outlier example, because if I talk to people here about AFTA, they hardly even know about it. I think one of the very sad legacies of apartheid is that South Africa grew up as an isolated economy from the late 40s when apartheid started, or earlier, even if you could say, but we were a self-reliant, isolated economy. So South Africans have a very limited sense of even a regional identity. So my sense is, I can't prove this, but anecdotally, I would say if you live in East Africa, you're aware that you're in East Africa. There's a lot of action from Kenya to Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania. The stuff moves. The border's already quite open. I saw on a LinkedIn post they already want to do an East African passport. So there's a regional identity, and the same would be in the north, and the same would be in the west. You're part of a region. We're down south, certainly from the perspective of South Africa. We don't have a regional sense, and that's terribly sad. So I think the regional senses that there are across, the four main regions, maybe center. Let's let that expand to say, look, this is, it's one continent, that we're working for. So there's an enthusiasm on the ground to say this is only going to happen once. The European Union and all of the work and the conversion to the euro, I'm not necessarily sure if what our monetary union will be and the political, how that's going to work. But I'm saying economically, this is going to happen once. So I'm already on the older side of stuff. But the university students, this is it. We're going to create an integrated continent, and it's going to be done. It's not a repeat project. So putting your effort into saying, I want to know that I was part of building an integrated Africa, a proud Africa, a self-reliant Africa, a generous Africa, on our own terms. It's incredibly important. We get this, it's Steve Biko that was going on about, you're a slave in your mind. We got to, that stuff. We're proudly African. So a sense of standing up and building a continent on our own terms is got to. It's the top can shout and say ooh, ooh, but it's the population that's got to say no. It's on our own terms. You know what that's like in America. There's a deep patriotism about being American. You don't stuff with it. Yeah, they will. I am very proudly American, and we haven't. That sense of I'm deeply, proudly African. And I look forward to the diaspora turning the other way around. What's this? It's Westerners, need to be coming to Africa to say, "Sheesh, this is the place I want to be." But you got to change your mind for that. You got to say, "No, this is the land of milk and honey. This is the place that's going to be amazing." And we got to live it. We got to stop. There's many of the politicians and the activists talk about. We've got to stop. Expect that we have to have handouts. We can be self-reliant. but it's the mentality saying, what do we need? Well, it's a change. It's a mental change to say we've got everything we need. We've got everything we need. Let's stand up strong. Let's stand up proud and be the continent that's going to be absolutely amazing for the next 200 years. People are going to want to come here and live because it's such a beautiful place.
Wow, that was so inspiring. I couldn't agree more. It is definitely a mindset change and a unification that needs to happen across Africa. Wow, that is something. What do you think about things that countries like Ghana have been doing where there's a minimum investment amount required for a person to start a business there? We had a speaker on the show a few weeks ago, and she'd mentioned that you either to bring $200,000 or have $200,000 worth of equipment. What do you think about that?
Look, I suppose it's just another obstacle, really, and I'm not schooled in the absolute intricacies and difficulties that we are going to face, as you're opening up your economies. All of the countries, most of them, you're protecting because you're trying to make sure that your own economy isn't ravaged. And I kind of get that, but I'm not an expert, so I can't come with a policy reason, that's going to make it better. But every obstacle that you put in place is slowing down the dream. You're just deferring the dream whenever you put an obstacle in place. And I'm certainly not, well, if Ghana's saying, if that's, I would say, well, are there different rules for Africans? If you're an African, do the same rules apply, or is this only to non-Africans wanting to come and invest? And that might be reasonable. So no, if you're a non-African, well, bring your goodies. Africa has exported trillions of dollars, have been stolen and taken. Our human resources, our minerals have left for hundreds of years. So if we're going to say, hang on, if you want to, come in as a non-African, well, maybe then bring in some goodies to show, bring in brick and mortar, not just share capital that can fly in and fly out, but bring in mortar investment. But I would ask, well, can the rules be different if I'm an African? If I'm a South African wanting to go and invest in Ghana, are you going to put the same restrictions on me, as you would to someone else? So, yeah.
So in terms of the year of return, it's been years of return now. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. What sort of entrepreneurs, what sort of businesses do you really want to see come to the places that you visited? What have you seen a need for?
So, again, my disclaimer is I'm not a development economist, but I spent, my brain goes there all the time, if I can say, what is African development going to look like? And I certainly have to put my fullest agreement with Mr. Paul Kagame, who says it is right that Africa modernizes, but we must modernize in an African way. It's Africanized we're modernizing in an African way. It is not Western modernizing, so we must find our way of doing it. So I think that's absolutely critical. I think, in fact, it occurred to me, was it yesterday or today? From today on, please, and anyone on the call, stop referring to developed and developing economies. Stop it. Africa is a developed society. Our societies, if you're going to rural anywhere in Africa, the way we run our societies is way older than any Western country. The Western countries only started democracy after the Enlightenment, when they got rid of their monarchies. We have a very stable, developed social infrastructure, way of doing things. And I think we must not lose that at all. But I agree, it's like, well, how does one modernize? How does one say, okay, but we are living in the 21st century, and how do we bring modern ways to our populations? And the only thought really that comes to mind, I think, is local. You know, doing things locally. It's not sexy because it's just a shop. You know, maybe opening a general dealer in some corner of Malawi. It's not. You're not going to scale it. You're not going to start a franchise. You're not going to do nothing. But you're saying on the ground, you now have a general dealer. You don't have to go 10 miles and waste all this money to get X, Y, and Z. You've got stuff locally to make your life better. And I mean, and other stuff. I mean, it's, yes, how does one bring bigger infrastructure? The bigger things are required. I mean, I still think it's how can you become a billionaire making cement? It's like, how does that work? But we are so starved of industries making basic commodities that you can become a billionaire, you know, making cement. But so yes, there's the local stuff. I think that's like really important. But there are industries wherever you look, beneficiation. I mean, the cleverer guys that are way cleverer than me know all of this stuff. You've got to start beneficiating. Cote d'Ivoire had this big fight with the cocoa producers to say, no, we got to start doing it locally. So I think beneficiation across, you know, agriculture side, across the natural resources side, you know, absolutely that has to be, you know, an important stuff. And the other things follow, because as soon as you're starting to industrialize, well, now you need thousands of plumbers and electricians and people that can fix diesel engines, and you know, all the rest starts coming. So your question, I'm saying local, I think, is really important. And still the bigger industries that are going to be, you know, that are lacking. If you look at any industrialized economy, well, there's stuff that's there. I think an absolute important principle of it, though, is self-reliance. You know, it's bringing industries, but whose agenda? Who's calling the tune on that particular road or that particular harbor or that particular airport? There has to be something that is absolutely, strongly, proudly African. It says we are going to build and develop Africa. We are going to find there are resources. We're going to find the resources. We're going to do it for the benefit of Africans. That has to be, so industrialized, yes, but, you know, not selling your country out while you industrialize, because now someone else owns that mine or owns that infrastructure project, or they've got you so in debt you're stuffed. You know, in 10 years time it's going to go bankrupt and you're going to have to sell the harbor back to whoever, you know, because you can't afford it anymore. So self-reliance and the pride has to be, I think, strongly there as part of any development agenda.
Thank you. Somebody has asked, are we able to keep track of your journey when you set off, and if so, where?
So absolutely, so I haven't started yet, so I haven't got the blog and the vlog going, but absolutely I'll be starting something, because I've got, you know, I'll be interviewing entrepreneurs, I'll be talking to people, I'll be, you know, finding out stuff, I'll be seeing beautiful shots of places. So definitely there will be something. And Daya, I mean, absolutely, if people are interested, I'll let you know when it starts. When that starts warming up, I'll be more than happy to share that with you, so you can share it with the audience. Thank you, whoever asked about that.
Yes, of course. We also have, I'm not sure if you've toured the site fully, Afrinection. We also have a blog where you can write, you know, entries and share your story as you're going. I'm sure people would love to follow it there as well.
I missed that part. Just say that part about the entries you said. I think the line wasn't so good.
We have a blog on the site where you can make like blog entries, kind of like you can kind of, I guess,
Sure.
log the story over time if you
Yep.
ever write,
Yep.
as well as share
Sure.
photos, and that way everyone in the community can see what's going on and follow your journey.
Mm,
So
absolutely.
um, we are coming to the end of our call. I just want to know, Marc, is there any piece of advice that you'd like to give out to anybody, maybe who's on a similar journey to you?
Wow. Um, Geez, I should have thought about that first, eh?
Oh,
uh, any bit of advice? I think maybe tracking back day to what we'd said before is let's be well. Let me not assume people aren't already proudly African, but the birth of our continent into a shining light for the world is right there. It is right there. So don't lose sight of that. Whatever your contribution is going to be, if you're going to be a teacher or working as an employee, it doesn't matter. We need employees. Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs need to employ people. I think entrepreneurialism is, we haven't mentioned the African youth bulge, that we know that the average age of African populations is whatever the number is, but it's low, it's 20. There are going to be millions and millions of Africans over the next decade or two that are going to be entering the workforce looking for employment. And who is it that's going to employ those people? Well, it's going to be the entrepreneurs. So we need to mint entrepreneurs at a hell of a rate, because it's those entrepreneurs that are going to be the employment engines for the next number of decades. So if you have a feeling for being an entrepreneur, I say give it a go. There's no guarantees. I mean, I'm at the age now where I can't not. It's just sometimes you get to a point where I'd rather be poor. I can't contemplate the idea of going to work for someone or be a job anymore. So, but there's no guarantees. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's one of the most empowering places in a way, because it's up to you. There's no safety nets. It's up to you to go and make something happen. So maybe that's the point. The thing to leave with people today is, like, if you feel an inclination to being an entrepreneur, then put your hand up. Get hold of Afrinection and squirrel away and give it a go. It's much easier to be an entrepreneur when you're younger. The older you get, as much as you get experience, entrepreneurs in their 40s and 50s can be more successful, but that's because they've got a great network and a lot of experience. But if you get into a corporate job for too long, that nice car and a nice house and the nice this and the nice that, and your expenses are up, now you've got a family, it becomes very hard to make the switch. So I'd say if you're thinking of it, do it sooner rather than later, because you can always, when you're young, you're more resilient. You can figure your way to get through it if times are tough.
Thank you, Marc. Everybody, you can find Marc on Afrinection at It's a Breeze. And hopefully more people connect with you to learn more about financial literacy for their business, and we can hopefully rebuild this economic infrastructure together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can't wait.
Thank you for talking with us today, Marc. I really enjoyed this talk.
Thank you. It was lovely, lovely, lovely. God bless. And blessings to everyone out there. Lovely meeting you all. And we'll see you. For those in Africa, we'll hopefully see you on the trip somewhere. God bless. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.